Hi there, I'm Henry and welcome to Hifigo. Now today I'm about to review the Whizzer B6, and these are true wireless earphones. Here's also the packaging, and you can see the same things there on the big screen. And these are earphones that really took me on a journey and really taught me a lesson. So I come from, let's say, for many years I've had very expensive audio gear, and I always have the best stuff. And then, so when I was sent these 40 or 50 euro, $50-$60 true wireless earphones, and then, my first impression was just like, what the hell is this? And it didn't sound, in any way, it just didn't sound the way an audiophile would be used to. We are always looking for the most balanced sound and like for this perfect representation of music as it should be. And these ones, they are not that. Absolutely not that. They are more towards the consumer grade kind of bass boosted sound. And there you go. Well, my first impression was just like I put them in my ear. I was like, that's terrible. Put them away and forgot about them. But then the time came when I was, the time to make the review came closer, and I decided that I will give them another chance. And so I did. I listened to them around my house. I took them outdoors, and then step by step, suddenly I really started liking these earphones. So yes, their bass is heavily boosted if you're coming from like an audiophile background. If you're coming from Beats by Dre or something similar, or these Bose headphones, then it's not super heavily boosted. It's still on the range of reasonable. Then the bass definitely bleeds into the mid-range, pulling back a bit on the mid-range clarity. And then the highs are boosted a bit again, like there's a very specific boost, and then they are recessed. So it's like bass, mids, and then highs here. That kind of V-shape where the highs have been pulled back a bit. Definitely not balanced. I'm just saying it out there again. But then, I had many other earphones to try that day, and I was just like, I went out with my bike and I managed to go as far as possible, break a tire, and then I had this huge walk back. Luckily I had like many earphones to try with me, so I could try them outdoors. And this is where I suddenly fell in love with these ones. When it comes to my Kynera Nanas or my Odyssey big over-ear headphones, or many others that I've tried, then these are very expensive earphones, and they are tuned to such little fine detail that even if one car drives by you or if there's wind outside, then it's already gonna kill the experience. Whereas these have the roughness and these have the energy that can power through. Sure, they don't sound ideal or flat or whatever you fancy audiophiles want to call it, but if you take them to conditions which are less than ideal, then in the end these will sound way more enjoyable than your $1,000 in-ear monitors. They will beat these because they are tuned to everyday situations and normal people. And this is where I got the lesson. I always thought that consumer class means something bad, something below you. Oh, so terrible. Why are you using these consumer class things? But then I understood that it makes perfect sense. What consumer type sound means that it's tuned for the normal human being who wants to use it in normal human situations. For example, going running, going for a walk, working out, just, maybe you work at a noisy environment, maybe you want to be separated from the chat in your office, or maybe you're working on construction. Wherever the conditions are less than ideal, these have become my go-to earphones, and literally I prefer them to anything else that I have, because it's more enjoyable in the end. Now, even though I said that the tuning is definitely off balance, there are some things they do super well. Even though the bass is boosted, it sounds pretty damn good. And the second thing, vocals sound amazing. There must be a peak somewhere in the tuning. I haven't checked the graphs, but it must be there, which is exactly where like some specific range of the vocals sits. Because if you're listening to music where, let's say there's, I don't know, maybe trap music where there are these low intense drums and then the vocals, or maybe a band where you have like the bass instruments doing their thing, then maybe guitars and stuff are filling the mid-range, and then there's the vocals, then you will experience music in such a way that the vocals are definitely in front of you, very center. They sound very nice. I love the vocals with these. And then the bass is really surrounding it like a cushion, and all the rest of the band is like, it brings it to the background. So your attention is pretty well, like, it shows you where to put your attention. Because if you go for crazy detail-rich earphones, then they will try to bring everything in your face, and in the end it's gonna tire your ears and you're gonna end up confused, or you're not noticing anything in particular because it's giving you everything. Well, the Whizzer B6 is exactly the opposite. It will give you, again, the two things that normal human listeners, non-audiophiles, care about, which are vocals or instruments in the similar range. Usually some sort of lead instruments or melodies sit there. And then the bass, which is like the cushion below the music and the power. And because they have more bass, then they are able to compete with the noise. So it's a very clean design considering what it's made for. And the decisions put into this are absolutely great, I think. They are also the most comfortable earphones I have ever tried. At first I thought they only came with the one pair of tips, but there's plenty more inside. But I was like, okay, well, that's it, right? It's super easy to use. You will never need an instruction manual or anything. And then it's just like, oh, it slipped into my ear, and perfectly. The tips are comfortable. The design is super comfortable. There's no risk of you ever losing them. They just sit so well in your ear, or at least in my ear. So, I came from hating them to kind of understanding what they're good for, till today. Now I'm really loving them, and I use these the most. And even though I have $1,000 things lying around here, and now my recent edition will be like $5,000 speakers, these are the ones I use the most because they're the most practical. And in my life, in my everyday situations, they're very enjoyable. They are super comfortable, they're easy to use. I would never be, I wouldn't lose too much if I dropped them or anything. So all around, these are great earphones designed for real life, and to my surprise, I heavily recommend them. So thank you for listening. There will be a link below, and you have a great day.